Okay, so we're going to do a quick rundown on T.S. Eliot. We do have other videos that break down every single poem, but Lily is going to be giving us a really quick overview on how to approach the essay structure for T.S. Eliot, where regardless of whether they specify a particular poem or they give you an extract, or you've got particular poems and you're not sure how they kind of all go together, this will just help you bring it all together so that when they ask you whatever question they ask you, you can have an essay that is cohesive and answers a question. So Lily, what would you say is the most important thing to remember with T.S. Eliot essays?
Yeah, so I think that what I found with a lot of my students is they really struggle with trying to connect the poems. Like when they first read them, they all feel really disconnected from each other and they don't know what the common thesis is or the common like driving question that's bringing them together. So then when they're trying to answer a question, they're trying to answer something separate for a lot of different poems without knowing what the cohesive thesis is that draws them together. So the key thing to remember is that T.S. Eliot's poems are all part of one same journey, which is his spiritual journey. So they start with poems like Preludes and Rhapsody and Hollow Men even, where he's just looking at the world and seeing all this despair and decay, and there's been a loss of religion in society. The modern world is really confusing. Eliot thinks people have turned away from morality a little bit, and he's just really in despair about that. So that's what catalyzes his desire to find a greater sense of purpose. And for him, that's his religion and his spirituality. But this can just be any sort of enlightenment or higher purpose if you don't want to use the religious language. So that's the first couple of poems. Then we move into Eliot looking at what kind of barricades people in the modern world from being able to perceive that higher purpose and act on it. So that's when we see poems really focused on that paralysis and the hesitation that's in the modern world. So that's Prufrock, and it's also Hollow Men. So you can decide where Hollow Men fits, if it's more the catalyst of the despair, or if it is that paralysis that's preventing people from finding a higher meaning. So we see in those poems that Eliot describes people being too caught up on the trivial things in modern life to be able to access that higher meaning and pursue a life of purpose. And finally, Journey of the Magi, which is a really crucial poem to always have in your response, concludes that journey, because that's when he has found spiritual fulfillment in having converted to Catholicism. And he ultimately determines that the journey was worth it. He has found fulfillment. However, he does also acknowledge that he's a bit alienated from modern life. So if you can structure your essay in that way of starting with like what acts as the catalyst for his journey and seeing that decay, then what barricades him once he does want to find that higher meaning, so that paralysis, the trivial concerns of modern life, and then finally talking about the conclusion of his journey. That's a really easy way to approach that essay and address most questions that you can possibly get.
Awesome. And always ensure with this particular module that you do practice doing where they give you like an extract or they give you a particular poem to work on. Generally always recommend that you have 3 really good ones, but you do have, dot point notes, quotes on the other ones. And then you understand where the other ones you're not using as the main ones. If they do specify it, you know where that slots into the journey that Lily has just described. And that's what really works about this essay structure, is it allows it to be really cohesive, where you look at the poems as a suite as opposed to just, individual ideas or paragraphs. So good luck with that one. And if there's any particular resources you guys want us to create, feel free to leave a comment in below.